Swedlow. This is Televisionation, and we have the great Chris Maccaro, CEO of Beachfront Media, beachfrontmedia.com. Welcome to Televisionation, Chris.
Thanks, Tracy. Thanks for having me.
So much going on in the advertising space. So many of the people that come to the conferences, TVOT, listen to Televisionation, they're in the advertising community, multi-platform industry that is experiencing a massive amount of growth. I just was speaking to someone who was saying that they've seen a 60% increase in OTT delivered advertising. Would you agree with that? Is that about what you're seeing?
Yeah, certainly usage is up, and we're seeing a pretty heavy increase in ad requests. So we're absolutely seeing that surge in supply for sure.
So as we discussed before, I mean, you're able to work with all platforms, and that's your strength, right? But what I can understand, having watched you guys for a while and done my research, is that innovation is really an important priority for Beachfront. And I wanted to hear a little bit more about why you think you guys need to keep innovating, although, I mean, everybody wants to innovate, but I know that's it. I guess I'm going to answer my own question, but it's like a survival mechanism, right? These days, you've got to get something out because there's so much change right now. I want to hear about that. What do you think about all the change going on in the connected TV marketplace and how you're going to keep up and innovate? And then we'll talk about what you're specifically doing.
Yeah, I love the analogy to a kind of a survival tactic. I would say it's an absolute necessity, innovation for this industry. And as we've discussed before, you know, Beachfront is really focused on two things. It's really been enablement and innovation. And when I think about our mission, it's always been to enable revenue automation or real-time buying across every consumer endpoint for video. And we were the first to be able to do that in traditional TV environments, both for set-top box VOD and linear spot. And that was an enablement challenge that we've focused on over the last couple of years. In CTV, you know, so what we've conditioned ourselves to do really is to look at those core infrastructure problems where either it's lacking enablement or innovation and tackle those problems. And a lot of what informed the development of our CTV products. So we've launched a product recently we're for lack of a better name, calling pod bidding. What informed a lot of that development and strategy was what we learned working with distributors and programmers over the last 2 years and developing revenue automation for those traditional ecosystems. And when you look at what's happening in the CTV space specifically, we're seeing woeful fill. You know, in other words, you know, we have all this supply, and only a certain percentage of that supply is actually able to fill with ads. Call it in the range of 50 to 60% actually gets filled in the space. And I think what the industry has been conditioned to believe is that those are demand issues. And if we focus on selling more and driving more demand and turning on more, you know, channel partners that have demand, like, our problems are going to get solved. And what we fundamentally don't believe that's the problem. We think there's an infrastructure problem that needs to be solved for. And what we've been doing over the last several years is throwing kind of legacy ad tech at this really kind of new problem. And so what we focused on in developing our product was what do we think the core issues that are holding back CTV monetization, and we've kind of attacked that through the new product. And it's things like latency and errors and technical issues that are prohibiting ads from filling. It's things like deduplication and competitive separation. It's the inability to look within a pod for CTV and say, hey, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity to, you know, drive greater value within that pod by looking at slots in a different way. And that's really what drove the innovation for us. It was really digging into what we thought were the core problems holding back CTV monetization, and then building a product that helps solve for a lot of those problems.
I mean, it sounds to me like I mean, you are selling real estate, right? Digital real estate. And, you know, the first commercial and the last commercial are the most expensive. And yeah, and so like, what do you do with those middle slots? And I know that from what I've read, that your pod bidding initiative allows you to also block out competitors' ads from that particular pod. So it's kind of like you're making these pods exclusive pieces of real estate that people can purchase, or reserve. And I'm sure that the advertisers are saying, fantastic, that's really great. But actually, why not just buy all those sort of pieces of that pie, of that little pod? Why not create like an advertising moment for 10 or 12 minutes? Maybe it's too expensive, but where they fill all those slots. If you can block out other competitors' ads, is that something that could happen? Do you see going forward? I mean, maybe I'm jumping the gun. You just want to like be able to deliver this pod bidding experience, but do you think that might be a way to deliver real value? What do you think?
And absolutely, we offer the ability to be able to do that to a publisher. Our toolkit will enable that. It's a very simple enablement for us. I think what we're mostly, what initially drove our thoughts around pods and how to handle those and how to construct those was really understanding the demands of TV. If you're buying TV, you absolutely expect that if you're Ford, you're not sitting in the same, pod as Chevy in many cases. And you're also expecting that you're not going to see another one of your Ford ads within that same slot and within that same pod. And today, that capability, largely doesn't exist within the CTV space. And that's what, in a functional, scalable, automated fashion. And that's really the problem that we're trying to solve.
But so you're not only navigating those kinds of issues, but you're also navigating, as you said earlier, the legacy tech problems, sort of like having to go over mountains in order to, you can't just sort of navigate a stream easily. I'm using all these weird metaphors, but you're also dealing with the fact that ownership is changing hands, and that there's an increased amount of new services out there. I mean, what do you think about the marketplace in order to roll this new offering out? Is it going to thrive in a consolidated marketplace where companies keep buying up these AVOD players, or is it going to only thrive when all of these companies just somehow toss their legacy platforms? And how long is that going to take? I mean, what are your, I have to read. How do you see this marketplace smoothing out so that you can offer this service and create a successful experience?
Yeah,
bumps in the road. How about that for another metaphor?
Yeah,
mountains.
No
and bumps. Okay.
We certainly see a lot of consolidation. The market's seeing a lot of consolidation. I don't expect that to stop in the near future. But there's a number of players that are interested in independent ad tech and independent players to help solve some of their most pressing ad tech problems. And I think
risen? Do you think that the level of need for that has risen as a result of being in this pandemic, where there's more viewing? Are you getting more calls as a result? I mean,
absolutely think it's risen. Yeah, I mean it's we're a small company, so we fight hard for every win, like most small companies do. And I will say the interest in the products that we're bringing to market has been as high as I've ever seen it in the 2 years that I've been here, or close to 2 years that I've been here. So there is absolutely a demand for products that can help drive greater yield for advertising supply. It's natural to think of. We have supply is up, and it's up pretty big, and demand is down, and there's really not much you're going to do to bring demand back. Demand's going to come back naturally when it's comfortable coming back. But what you can do is optimize the demand that's there. And that's what our tools are built to do. So we've seen a tremendous acceleration, particularly of a lot of our new products over the last couple of months.
But I mean, you'd think that the advertisers would realize that there are more people on the market watching, and that they need to up their game. To what extent do you think that, that they're just waiting for things to settle down, or that they're looking for better ad tech? I mean, what do you think is preventing them from jumping into the fray?
Yeah, I don't think anything's preventing them. I think publishers have been extremely active in looking at the best solutions to optimize the opportunities that they have. So I think that's one of the impacts that COVID has had, one of the positive impacts COVID has had, not only on our business, but I'm sure a lot of others that are in that ad tech space. We build tools to maximize yield, and I've been actually really excited to see the enthusiasm on the publisher side and trying to find solutions that can help drive greater optimization. I would say pre-COVID, it was less of a pressing need. Things were going great, budgets were great, the economy was doing really well, and it takes work to rethink your ad solutions. It takes work to redeploy, a solution, and I think that the cost-benefit analysis probably wasn't there. It's there now.
High priority. So what's your product roadmap in terms of, delivering the pod bidding service, but is there something coming around the corner that, that you think that needs to be delivered in the market? Can you give us a hint as to, what you might be?
Yeah. I think on the pod bidding front, we're solving for a lot of what we think are the fundamental infrastructure issues with CTV and OTT today. And we're excited about that. We'll continue to accelerate that business and innovate as we onboard more clients there. I think what I'm most excited about is, we've been hard at work over the last couple of years in the traditional TV space, both in set-top box VOD and also in enabling traditional linear to transact programmatically. And we have some tremendous partnerships and innovation on the horizon here, which I think over time can just fundamentally help change the way traditional TV is bought and sold. And we're excited about that. We're probably one of the few that are still, highly bullish on traditional television. We still think there's going to be a meaningful audience that brands are going to want to reach through a traditional channel, and we think it's important to build tools for them as well.
Are you involved in providing attribution? Sort of an analysis or data, or or you let your clients pick those partnerships, correct?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Yeah, it's funny you say that. First, I think you never want to be in a position where you're kind of grading your homework, right? So, but we do think, as we think about the long-term value of kind of unifying the pipes for all video, we really do think there are some incredible long-term benefits, both on the attribution front, in terms of, just having a more seamless ability to optimize within different platforms. We think there's tremendous value there. Attribution certainly is one of them. Measurement are things that, although we don't currently feel like that's something that we're going to take on in the short term, we certainly have started having discussions with people that we think are better positioned to do that.
What else do you think strategically would be the right way for the advertising industry to press for change? Like, if you could advise some of the other companies and the studios, what kinds of changes should they be making right now, other than hiring you? But I mean, what kinds of important technological changes should they prioritize?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm sitting, if I'm sitting in a role, a decision-making role for a broadcaster or a publisher today, I'm thinking about whether or not I have my organization set up with the right KPIs and authority to make decisions that ultimately will have a positive long-term impact on the business. And the one thing that continuously jumps out at me is the majority of distributors, programmers, they have teams that are focused solely on maximizing yield. And I think for the majority of them, they look at those divisions as revenue generating units. And when you have revenue being generated by a unit, and that revenue generally is doing well and growing, you tend not to disrupt the apple cart, right? And I would say that's just fundamentally the wrong way to have that division focused and set up. And what it prohibits is them looking at more effective, sometimes prohibits them looking at more effective monetization vehicles and different business models to help, drive greater yield and revenue. I would say that would be the one thing that I've seen that I think is an impediment to innovation to a degree, but it's not disparaging the people that are running those yield businesses. I think they absolutely do a tremendous job. I just think if given a little more flexibility from an economic and goals standpoint, I think they can make some really interesting, disruptive, and positively impact and decisions that would positively impact those businesses.
So maybe the pandemic has been a good thing for the industry. It's forced everyone to.
I think it has. It for sure has. I mean, we're seeing, like I said, really exciting inbound requests on these yield tools, and and I think that's going to continue. I think it's going to, I think this pandemic and ultimately the economic downturn is going to rethink how we think about buying and selling ads. We're going to continue to look for more efficiencies. It's having a broader impact than those two things, but I really do think we're going to start leaning into innovation and trying to establish new ways of doing things, going forward.
Are you also delivering to online, to digital outlets as well, or just staying, on the sort of traditional TV and CTV and OTT? Are you dealing with?
Yep. The way we built our platform is to enable real-time buying across every single consumer endpoint. So we think of those as mobile and a mobile device, desktop, CTV, and OTT. And I think where we're very different is that we also think about that set-top box in the home and that linear feed into your TV. So yeah, absolutely. Although we spend a lot of our time developing product and innovating for publishers and programmers that sit across CTV and linear, we certainly do not ignore mobile and desktop as a part of that distribution tree.
Okay, sounds good. I think those are all my questions, and I really appreciate your sharing your time with us here. Is there anything else you'd like to tell the community out there about how you're doing, and where is your company all distributed? Are you all in your homes too?
We are all distributed. I am really happy to say that none of us, nor our families, have been impacted by COVID. So I think we've gotten really lucky. They are distributed. I would say the one thing we're rethinking is, do we stay distributed? Right? That's one of the big things we're kind of working through right now. Is, do we stay a distributed workforce? I've seen no tail off in productivity, and the engagement seems to be great. So we'll see what the go forward looks like. But it's been an eye-opening experience for a lot of us, and I think first and foremost for us, we're thankful everyone's happy and hungry.
Good to hear. Well, we're all in the distributed TV business in some way or another. Okay, thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And Chris Maccaro is the CEO of Beachfront Media, and you see the URL right there. And be sure to reach out to him. And hopefully we'll see you at our TV of Tomorrow Show virtual conference coming up September 9th and 10th. Not in San Francisco. It's going to be everywhere, distributed around the world.
Well, you'll see us there, Tracy. It was really good talking to you. Thanks
You too. Thank you so much. This is Tracy Swedlow, Televisionation. Reach out to us if you'd like to be on the show, and we'll hear how you guys are doing too. Thanks so much.